back then, I thought at the time, like, this is a decision that is serving, like, my higher good, like, my mental health, like, my inner stability, things like that. So it was easy for me to make that choice, but what was hard for me is letting people know that I was struggling. And that was the first time in my life that I had really opened the doors. Up until the moment of, like, detransitioning, I was like, "I'm good, I'm tough, I'm independent, I'm figuring this stuff out all on my own."
Hello and welcome to the 50 Shades of Gender podcast. We get curious about all things gender, sex, and sexuality, as well as relationships, feminism, the inclusive kind, neurodivergence, disability, kink, mental health, and all that makes us humans unique and diverse. From body positivity to body dysmorphia, it's all welcome here. Visit the website 50shadesofgender.com, as in FIFTY, for helpful resources to support us or to find out about our gender diversity and allyship workshops and courses. A massive thank you to those who have donated and those who are or used to be patrons. You really make a massive difference. I appreciate you and you're awesome. Thanks also to those of you who have sent in your stories, poems, or art for the Anthology of Hope. I've been absolutely blown away by your incredible grit and joy and defiance, and of course, hope. And I'm so excited to announce that the book will be out in spring 2026. The crowdfunder will be launching in the next few weeks. Go to 50shadesofgender.com/hope for more information and updates. Now join us on a journey of inclusion, acceptance, and respect. I'm your host, Esther Lemons. I am a queer woman, and my pronouns are she and they. In this episode, I have a conversation with Pariera, a philosopher, guide, and mentor rethinking self-identity and reality. A's pronouns are he and they, and he identifies as a non-binary trans man. Find out what that means to A in this episode. We talk about his journey from transitioning to detransitioning to retransitioning, going inward on a soul quest, embracing the journey, deconditioning, returning to home in the body, feeling safe, redefining masculinity and femininity and a spiritual and energetic perspective on these, and taking the long road. Please be aware there is brief mention of suicide in this episode. It was recorded on the 26th of September 2025. Now let's get into the episode. Hello and welcome. What's your name?
My name is A.
Hello,
Still
A.
at hello.
Amazing. Hello. Welcome. The labels you gave me were non-binary trans man when it comes to gender. And I wondered, what does it mean to you to be a non-binary trans man?
For me, simply from the outside looking in, it just means to be more masculine presenting on the outside, but internally I feel more fluid with my gender, sexuality, life, and thinking overall. But if you ask me on a deeper level, what that really means is I've been on an 8-year inner journey of my gender that took me to transition for 8 months on hormone treatment and the whole shebang to detransitioning back to my birth name, living as a masculine female, then coming out as non binary was a pinnacle point in my journey where it brought up the whole gender confusion, questioning, dysphoria all over again. So when I was in my non binary part of my journey, it's what made me actually realize that no, you're still a trans man underneath the surface. And I don't know if I were to not have taken on that non-binary piece of me in this journey, would I have ever gotten to that truth within me that I am deeply a trans man as well? Because I was so stuck in rigid ways of thinking about gender, even as somebody that lived outside the binary most of my life, from transitioning to detransitioning, I still went from thinking I was going from one box to another. Like I was transitioning to be a man and the way that society described it. then to detransitioning to be this like perfect masculine lesbian female on the outside. It was just one box to another until I came to this non-binary place of like, what does it mean to actually like present that in the world and embody that? And then that's what led me back to my deeper truth. So that's what that label really means to me.
Okay, in a nutshell. Amazing. Yeah, it would be great to dig into that a bit further. So, yeah, a journey from transitioning to detransitioning to retransitioning. And do you feel like then your initial transition might have been too hasty or too rushed or like, yeah, let's unpick it a little bit or like, slow it down a little bit. So what happened in your first transition?
My first transition was exactly how you described it. Like I as soon as you said that, like I was nodding my head like absolutely yes, like hasty, rushed, confused, not my idea of what transition should be or should look like or what it should feel like either. So what had happened the first go around really is first I'm a trans individual that really has known all my life, but that doesn't mean that it's been easy to grab onto that truth. Like, I was having thoughts early on in my life of, like, I wish like, I dreamed about being a boy. Like, I thought I would wake up one day and I would just be a boy and things like that. So, all the puzzle pieces were there. But come to my first transition, I was in a really heavy place in my life. I was just getting out of high school. I had lost my best friend to suicide. I was just going away for college soccer and then discontinuing that to return home to a girlfriend who had just lost her mom at the time. So a lot of grief, a lot of like heavy, big life decisions were happening. But in the mix of all of that, that's when I decided I'm transgender and I'm going to go do this thing. But in my mindset back then, with all of the life things going on and considering my mental health, I thought that my transition and being trans would solve all of the rest of the things that were going on at the time. So, considering all of that, going into gender affirming care and saying, hey, like I'm trans, it was really hard. I felt very unseen. And then going forward with and I felt very unseen because when I went into gender affirming care, all they wanted to do, which is their job, is affirm the gender. They it's not their unfortunately, their job to check on grief and all of these life things that are happening. That's like
Mm,
my responsibility, right? So anyways, going in, they just wanted to focus on the gender. So in that sense, I did feel very rushed because I didn't understand what transgender even meant. I had just looked myself in the mirror one day and said, I'm a boy, I know I'm a boy, and I'm gonna go in and figure this out. So I went into gender affirming care as well, looking for answers. Like, what does transgender mean? What does this journey look like? I did everything that they recommended. I went to therapy, I went to support groups, I started on hormone treatment. I did the whole 9 yards, but it was rush, and I didn't understand what was happening. I was just doing what I was told to do until one day, I just felt so fucking far away from my sense of self and in such a dark place, I didn't know what to do. I thought this was all ends. And it was really hard to have that amount of courage to say, I'm going to detransition and just go inward and figure out who I am on a soul sense and what my purpose is and like those bigger life questions. That's when I tore it all down. And so, yeah, going into it, that's what like really drove me to detransition is the rushed process in it all and not, being encouraged by outside professionals to say, "Why are you doing this? What's encouraging you? Is this the right time?" Things like that. "Are you in a good space to do this, considering these things might happen?" Like, all of those things, they don't educate you on when you're a transgender individual going into care.
mm, yeah.
Yeah, I was young. I was 20. Yeah, 19, 20 years old. So, I was like, "I'll listen to anybody. You're the experts. Tell me what to do," until it felt so dark.
Yeah. See, that's a really interesting one because obviously, I don't know what it's like what it's like in the US and in the UK. I mean, okay,
Right.
yeah, enough said. But it's an interesting one because I think a lot of people who are unsure, even critical, the critics, they talk about things going too fast and people being talked into things and, all that kind of stuff. So it's a very controversial subject. But I think it's an important one to talk about. Yeah.
Uh, want to mention next to the rush process, there's also like a side by side thing happening, which is like the certainty requirement as well.
Right.
Which I notice, like, when you go in, it's like you have to be certain of these choices, so it's like, "I'm trans man, I have nothing else going on, I'm certain of this," and if you don't go in that with their language, they're going to make you prove yourself in different ways. So in that sense, it does make you feel like you have to perform your gender rather than discover your gender in
Mm.
the gender affirming care model, and it is hard to say in different countries and cultures, but overall in the last 4 years with communicating worldwide with, the trans community, personally with a business, like, it happens everywhere, just it's not talked about, and that's the hard thing. It's not like a transgender thing, it's more of like a healthcare thing.
Mm. Yeah, that's very interesting. That
Mhm.
is really interesting. I don't know about the situation here. It doesn't like the system for gender affirming care here in the UK is not fast, and it has become even slower since COVID years, or since COVID times. So, did you go down a private healthcare route? Because obviously that's different in the UK than it is in the US, isn't it? So,
Mhm. Yes, because in the States, I'm originally from the States. Right now, I reside in Canada, but I was born and raised in the States. So gender affirming care was there, and I was going through a private care model because we have to have healthcare through our like who we're working for in the States, and that's who I was going through back then. So yeah, and it is interesting because it was like they just kind of handed it to me in a way of like I just went in and said like, "This is who I am. I struggle with dysphoria. I'm trans." And they said, "Okay, check, check, check. Here's your hormones," kind of thing. Just took 2 appointments really, which is crazy.
yeah, that does sound very fast. I know you can get private healthcare, like gender affirming care here in the UK as well, which
Mhm.
is faster, but not I don't think super fast. But anyway, I'm no expert in it. But it's interesting. So you had a sense of being trans from a young age, but also the journey you went into was too fast for you. And I think it takes a lot of self awareness and also courage, to be in a place of like, this is not where I need to be. And I need to just like reset almost, I suppose. So what happened next? Did you just come off hormones? You mentioned going back to your old name, all sorts of things?
Yeah, it was a quiet moment with myself. I decided I'm just gonna go back,
Mhm.
and I thought back then, I thought at the time, like, this is a decision that is serving, like, my higher good, like, my mental health, like, my inner stability, things like that. So, it was easy for me to make that choice, but what was hard for me is letting people know that I was struggling, and that was the first time in my life that I had really opened the doors. Up until the moment of, like, detransitioning, I was like, "I'm good, I'm tough, I'm independent, I'm figuring this stuff out all on my own." But as soon as I opened those doors when I detransitioned and went back, it's like it was really, really hard because in a sense I knew it was the right thing, but it felt so confusing still because it was like I was choosing now how I look at it is very different how I looked at it back then, but now how I look at it is like I was choosing to go inward in myself to understand all of these scripts that were really making me feel dark, that made me want to detransition because I didn't understand it all, but it was still so confusing because I was forcing myself to love my conditioned self, my survival self, and it's not a bad thing. Like, I spent a lot of years, that's my entire detransition, those 7 years was learning how to love Amber and accept Amber for who she was. Because when I was transitioning and detransitioning in those beginning stages of those years, I absolutely hated myself. I hated being gay, I hated everything about it, it was a dark place, like, I didn't understand that, and that's what drove me to transition and want to just rip out of the pain rather than understand the pain. So, detransitioning was years of unlearning all of these survival ways of living and patterns and beliefs that were handed from the outside world. And it was a lot of years also next to that learning self love, self discipline, learning human potential, behavior, spirituality, diving into consciousness, neuroscience, understanding subconscious reprogramming, the collective conditioning. Like I went inward on such a soul level quest that I wanted truth in these 7 years that I peeled back so much in this detransition of this next phase that I got back to my deeper truth, but with a better foundation to say, "Fuck yeah, I'm trans, but I understand it for myself now, and I just get to show up in that rather than try to piece the puzzle together from like, society telling me that trans is bad and I have to hate my body and all these different things. Like, I got to spend 7 years in my detransition understanding what not only it meant to be amber and what it meant to be a soul, but also what it means to be trans for me on an individual personal soul level. So that's what came next.
Yeah, I like that. And in a way, it's kind of an argument for not an argument for, but, it's kind of an encouragement to self-reflect and to go inside and to, like, discover and explore who you are in a way. Because, like, I think a lot of people might be worried about or afraid to dive into the subject, like, what is gender? What is my gender? Because I found in the journey of the podcast, talking to so many people, like, you can't really question gender without questioning your own gender, that's where I got to. And I was like, "Yeah, what is that about?" And I don't feel like I've got a destination or anything, but, yeah, I think a lot of people are worried to even explore it, and I'm like, "Well, what's the problem? You might just end up at being a cis person, that's fine, isn't it?" Like, if you start at being a cis person and you explore all this, and then you're like, "Yeah, actually, I am a cis person," that's fine. But I think a lot of people are just so scared of I don't know, scared of what they'll find, scared of what do you think they're scared of?
Yes, and that is so beautifully said. That is simply put really what the journey has showed me is like gender is such a bigger thing that we don't even realize because it helps us open the doors to so many inner questions and answers we have to find ourselves. So that was so beautiful because I that's exactly what I tell people all the time. Like if you're cis and if you have to discover, like you just said, like at least at the end of the day, you know exactly why you're cis and like what that means to you. And like that's such a deeper experience in life. So love
Yeah.
how you said so beautiful.
Yeah, it is so interesting, isn't it? But the thing is, I think when you start looking into this stuff, it's when you find a lot of deep stuff that if people processed it and looked into it, it would really disrupt society quite a bit, which is, I think, exactly why, as I said in the last episode, I think trans women are being so targeted because they show us what it's like to be free in this
Mhm.
particular way that really triggers the patriarchy a lot. So, yeah. So, do you feel like, looking back, like hindsight, do you kind of embrace your journey exactly as it has been? Do you have any regrets? Do you wish you kind of hadn't transitioned and taken your time instead? Where are you at with that?
No, I am so grateful for the way that my journey has played out. It just is such an emotional experience. Like I'm so grateful and I'm so connected to it. And I think every step of this journey, whatever it is, I'm so grateful. Like the God spirit, whatever, I feel like I have been guided, but I've also been willing to listen to that voice even when it's been hard. And that is what has made me feel so grateful and just connected to it. Absolutely no regrets.
Mhm.
I love every corner of it, every downfall, quote unquote, whatever we want to put, labels to, but it all adds up. It's all a part of the bigger picture and it's
Mhm.
beautiful.
Mhm.
Mm.
Good. Yeah, I like that. So, in your retransition, it's interesting because I was thinking transition, detransition, retransition. But then you talked about there's maybe a point there is a point you can identify where you were like, "No, I'm gonna detransition." That was a thing. Where's the not line? Not that there has to be like the line between detransition and retransition. Is there like a blurring of that line? Like, where did it go from detransition to retransition? I'm curious.
Like I just Yeah, beautiful questions you're asking. Like I was saying, I spent those 7 years getting to know Amber, loving on Amber, which is my survival self, right?
Mhm.
And I got to this place of, you know, you could you could live your life as a survival self. You love her, she's a great mess. You still get to be yourself inside. You know who yourself on a soul level, kind of thing. But I really hit a spot of like, no, I really need to do this. Like, I'm also on a deeper journey behind scenes with a beautiful wife. I have a beautiful daughter and loving these beautiful women in my life, whether it doesn't matter the gender, like your soulmate. And when you're raising a kid, like, really it opens up doors of deep loving yourself deeper too. And all of that mixed together, it was just with myself again, like a silent moment when I chose to detransition. Retransition was very similar. It was a silent moment of like, I really need to do this for myself. And then the difference that you're asking of what is that difference now is those 7 years were spent loving on Amber, whereas when I decided to retransition, I'm letting Amber go. And oh no, although I know on a soul level I'm not Amber, I just spent those 7 years investing all this time in her, right? And so retransitioning is about letting her go and grieving her and understanding that she serves so much of my life for a greater purpose that I get to step into this foundation that I built for A and let A lead the way and let myself be a beginner again and let myself, try on different things in different areas of life and walk that path of picking things externally that align with my truth now rather than masking it all externally to feel so protected in my truth, if that makes sense. It's like I'm learning to express my truth rather than protect the truth. And the clear difference is I'm no longer latching on to my survival self so hard. I'm breathing in a higher way, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. At what stage or like how long ago did the retransitioning start for you?
Yeah, I've really only been retransitioning per se a little bit over a year. I have my very first gender affirming care appointment myself next month, and I've waited this long for that appointment, and it's kind of like not been intentional because I'm an immigrant here in Canada right now. So there's like paperwork in process, but in a way, it's all happened for a divine purpose. It's really made myself slow down and question how I want this to look going into it all. So I've really only been out for the last little over a year. I've been socially transitioning. I've been peeling back the beliefs and yeah, just getting myself. I don't even know what I would call not even prepared, rather than just like allowing myself to feel safe in it.
Mm. That's a
Yeah,
big thing, isn't it? Feeling safe in it.
yeah. Spending time visualizing it, sitting with it, feeling safe with it. Like I spent all my life up until this retransition stage running away from my truth. Whereas now I see it as like I'm chasing my highest expression. Like I don't even the retransition, I don't even see gender. Like it's so beyond that. It's my soul. It's my natural expression. That's really what I'm chasing here. And before this, I was running away from all of that because I was so afraid.
Mm. Interesting. Yeah.
Like, when I first came out too, that's, like, what I told everybody, like, this is my biggest fear right now, like, me actively coming out and showing the world my truth and actually letting it be seen, like, this is my biggest fear. Me talking to you right now is my biggest fear, and I'm doing it
Mhm.
because it's not a fear anymore. You can walk with your fears, live with your fears kinda thing, but
Mhm.
it doesn't feel like a fear anymore, but when I first pulled it off, it was one of the scariest things, it felt like.
Mhm. So
How the how the body just responded to it all too was really telling. Like I had spent a lot of years like investing in self-development, spirituality, like a lot of studying, a lot of self-applying and teaching and all that stuff. So when I was retransitioning, I had all this knowledge behind my back and the way my body responded to this retransition is just so amazing because I spent most of my life claiming that like I don't know what anxiety is, like trying to claim that I don't feel that feeling. But when I retransitioned, I realized I was living my entire life in an anxious state, fight or fight state, survival state. But this whole retransition, it's been like calm, peace, ease. And it hasn't been easy per se, because I've had to let go of so many patterns and beliefs, but it's been like this, I don't know, return to home in the body is how it feels. And I think that's really telling.
Mm, yeah. Return to home in the body. I like that. Yeah. I think a lot of us are so like dissociated, disembodied. I don't know. I mean, I can relate to some of what you're saying for myself because I was a neurodivergent kid, not knowing they were neurodivergent, but always struggling to fit in, get things right in society, all that stuff. So masking is familiar concept. Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. And in a way, I think a lot of us are on this journey of self-discovery, whether that involves gender or other things or a combination of things, often a combination of things, right? Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned your partner and your child. How long have you been together with your partner?
We've been together. We just had our 2-year marriage anniversary, and we've been together for 3 years, but we've been talking for 4 years. We actually met long distance online. I'm from Seattle, Washington, originally, and now I'm out here in Nova Scotia, Canada, 3,000 miles away from home. First time ever, but it really is home away from home, and it's become a whole new discovery of myself out here, and I'm really grateful for finding her. She's a huge part in my journey.
Mm, yeah, yeah. So you kind of met, I guess, just a couple of years before you started retransitioning and near the end of your detransitioning, stage, if you want to break it down that way.
She's been through every pronoun. She, they, to he.
Yeah. How's that been for her? Like your journey and everything?
You know what? For her, she really sets the standard in my life because I don't feel like she's really had like a whole lot of reaction other than I just want you happy and I love you and I'm here. Like that and like a piece of cake. And, like, in that response itself, like, I don't know, it's been so healing and so eye-opening. Like, why hasn't everybody else back when I transitioned the first time responded that way? And it was just I don't know, she really sets the stage. She's really amazing. It hasn't been a hassle. It's really deepened our love, our marriage, our intimacy, our communication, and everything. Like I said, the safer I get in my body and the more myself I become, the better I become in my marriage and the better parent I become as well, the more regulated I am in our family moments that do come up because they're inevitable. But yeah, I feel like she is an angel in my journey just as much as she would say I am in hers.
That's really lovely. Yay.
Mhm.
You talk a lot about deconditioning and unlearning and all that stuff from societal, all the stuff that gets dumped on us, really, and masking. What have you found has been the biggest realization you've had when it comes to unlearning all that stuff, deconditioning, unmasking, and all that in your journey since you started, even your initial transition?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing I've discovered through it all is I'm a huge believer when it comes to belief work. And I really belief at the end of the day is the root cause to everything, but it's not that simple either. What I really discovered when I say that is there's so many angles to belief work that we have to learn how it all interconnectively works together, and it takes years You don't get to skip the work. It takes years of unlearning and piecing your own belief system together for it to really start to click, 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 and take off in a new way. So that's what I really learned is there's so many angles to it, but at the end of the day, the world really is shaped on our belief systems, and the beliefs are the root cause to everything. But
Mm.
there's a lot to it, and that's why a lot of people can be very triggered by that statement and very resistant to that statement. And it's just because it's a misunderstanding. Because it's like, "Oh, well, belief work is just a, mindset fluff of, do affirmation work and pile up a bunch of beliefs on top of your trauma." No, it's not that simple. What we're missing here is, like, the unpacking stage, the grief stage, the self-love stage. Like, there's so many stages that encompasses what belief work actually means.
Mm.
That's my biggest learning. It's years and years and years of learning. It's not you just wake up one day and be like, "Oh, I get it."
Mhm. Oh, yeah. I can definitely relate to that. How do you define belief work? Like, if you had to summarize it or tell someone who asked you, what does that mean? Like, what would you say to them?
You are going to spend the next day, months, years, maybe probably should probably be the rest of your life, unlearning everything that you were taught about who you are and about what you're supposed to do with your life and about the world around you. And you're going to shape your own way of thinking about yourself, others, your relationships, and the world at large. That is deconditioning to me. You are deconstructing everything and reshaping yourself from the inside out and then learning how to live from that place.
Mm.
That's what it means to me. It's a lot of work, but it's the most meaningful work you will ever do in your life.
Mm. I agree.
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
Makes your life yours. Like, it doesn't matter how hard and messy it is. Like, when you get into it, the hard and mess, like those thoughts and the doubts, like, you just kind of ride with it because it just ends up you shaping your life the way you want to shape it. And it allows you to go through challenges the way you want to. It allows you to just, show up in the way that you want to, and it becomes yours.
Mhm.
And that's it. I think that's what everybody wants at the end of the day is peace, love, and happiness, whether we want to admit it or not.
Yeah. Yeah. What is your vision? Or I think it's often called like the 5D, the new earth, whatever you want to call it, really. But especially when it comes to gender, because of the absolute shit show that we're in at the moment. Can't put it any better way.
Yeah. My vision is really just simply put self healing is world healing. And when I think about that, passing that to future generations to come, it's like just offering, youth and everybody else in the world more expansive language for our experiences rather than handing us this versus this and gatekeeping the rest of our experience. So I see really this whole mission that I'm putting out in the world touching the 5D of giving you language for what we don't have language for, but we know is happening.
Mhm.
If that makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just giving you the language to explore, to be, to live,
Mhm.
rather than to feel like you have to search for all these answers and like this is not the only way to live. And all those ways we've had to grow up in our generations and go quest out for these answers.
Mhm.
Like, it should be available to the mainstream is basically how I see it. When I say self-healing is world healing, it's just allowing people to understand their inner world and giving them the proper resources, giving them the proper tools and guidance to do that. Because if we all had the proper resources, tools, guidance, and leadership around the world showing us what self-healing is world healing, then I think really this world would be off to a better place.
Mhm.
It really can be that simple and complex all at the same time, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think so many of us think we have no power to change anything, but like the complete opposite is true. It has to start with ourselves, really, doesn't it? Yeah.
Right. Mhm.
Hmm. Yep. Speaking of language, you said, I asked you about sort of what language you use for yourself when it comes to gender. And you say, I identify as a non binary trans man. You say, I usually say that because I want to honor, you want to honor your gender experience outside the binary and your soul's deep connection and truth to masculinity, which I really liked. So, is there anything more you would like to sort of say about that or elaborate on that?
Yeah, I just don't really resonate with like the mainstream and typical way of manhood. And that was also a really like a hardship part of my first transition is just not resonating with it all. So like the non-binary trans man really sticks true to my soul because it just allows me to like when we talk about belief work and deconstruction, like it just allows me to shape manhood in the way that feels true and right for me, even if it doesn't make sense to other people. So
Mhm.
that's what I have to say on that. It's like masculinity can be fluid and it can be yours and it doesn't have to look like anything. And same thing with femininity too. But
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And I love that we, in a way, we get to define what that means to us
Yeah.
and individually, you know?
And giving yourself the permission to do that is really freeing.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Speaking of like in spiritual terms, I suppose, when people talk about, say, the divine masculine and the divine feminine, what are your feelings around that?
That's a lot of where this journey started. Like, actually, what helped me find a lot of peace in myself when I detransition was learning that masculine feminine and or yeah, the feminine and masculine and like divine sacred terms and like spiritual terms and like universal laws. Like I learned about, the 12 laws of the universe, and the very last law is the law of gender, talking about, you know, masculinity and femininity in an energy sense. And that's what a lot allowed me to find a lot of peace during my transition is knowing that each and every single human being on this planet has both female and male energies within them. And at the end of the day, we're actually all both. And that's what allowed me to find peace of like, oh, I get to figure out like what this journey means for me. And I think that's what really set the stage probably in the beginning of my detransition was discovering stuff like that and just being like, oh, again, there's a language for me. I feel validated. I feel seen here. I'm good to roll. And yeah, so I really resonate with that because I think if we all understood that at the end of the day too, on a deeper sense, like I combine a lot of my work with spirituality and neuroscience. So when we're doing deconditioning, we're also talking about like energies and spirituality when I'm working like with my clients. And when we bring, those energies of masculine energy and feminine energy, we can start to decondition our thoughts in that way too of like, okay, these are our more masculine conditioned ways of thinking, and these are our more feminine conditioned ways of thinking, and these are also our more masculine, like conditioned ways of behaving that we're taught to be masculine and taught to be feminine. And if we can start to deconstruct the energies and behaviors that we've taken on from society, then we can start to reconstruct it back in a way that feels natural and aligned for our personal experience. So I really resonate with all of those concepts because I've taken them on a personal and practical sense and put them into practice, and I teach other people how to do the same thing because we all hold those energies. We do. And the whole point of life, really, on an energy sense, is to find the balance and wholeness of the two. And when you can find the balance and the wholeness of the two, at least I've learned through my personal journey, you can find your true, authentic soul's expression, which is not male or female. It is an expression. And that's the journey I'm on.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. A real integration of
Mhm.
those facets, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah.
And what you really start to learn about, if you start to learn about those things like the masculine and feminine energies and start applying it to the world in different senses in different areas of your life, you see gender really is everywhere. And we really are all so conditioned in a gendered sense. And then once you see it, you just can't unsee it.
Mhm.
So, highly encourage people to really do their own work and to look into those things because it does affect all of us more than we'd like to admit.
Mhm. Yeah. It's kind of like if you're swimming around in this soup, it's hard not to have some of it stick to you. You know?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Totally. Is there anything that you would like to talk about that we haven't touched on yet?
think we've touched on some deep spots and some. I feel good about today's
Mhm.
wording. Yeah, I
Yeah,
really do.
good stuff. Yeah.
Did you have any more questions or anything?
If you had a message for your younger self who was just starting their transition, what would you say to them now?
Do it this way and take the long road, no matter how messy and uncomfortable or long it takes to get to yourself. Don't be afraid to go inward. And again, take the long road. I really would tell my younger self, do it this way
Mhm. Yeah.
because I experienced both outcomes of what could have been if I kept going down that path and I could have kept pushing myself in my first transition. And a lot of trans people do. And a lot of trans people have to deal with the grief later. But I did it. I went inward. And that's not a comparison. That's not a judgment. It's a bigger awareness of the things we go through in our transition. So after everything that I've gone through and after all the stories and experiences that I hear from the trans community every single day, the stories that aren't talked about as much, I would tell my younger self, do it this way. You'll be happy. At least you'll be happy. At least you'll know yourself deeply. Do it this way.
Mhm. Yeah. That is so interesting. It to be in a place of like, yes, I would tell my younger self to do it differently. And also I am grateful of my journey and I accept it and embrace it as it was. You know? Because it kind of seems like a paradox almost, but it doesn't
It
have to be.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can feel like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And don't be afraid to be yourself. Like even right now, like my biggest affirmation that I'm focused on right in front of me, it's like I collaborate to my own truth and I let the world come to me rather than, prove yourself.
Mhm.
Don't be afraid to follow your own path.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it's an inside out job, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I love the inside out job. And
Mhm.
I more people would love it. I think that's the thing. It's like I'm obsessed with it. I love it. I love the inner work. I haven't always been this way, but like I am obsessed. Like I love the belief work, everything about it. Can't
Mhm.
get me away from it now. It's like it's literally a part of me.
Mhm. Yeah, I find that comes along in business as well. Like if you do your own thing, if you're an entrepreneur or anything like that,
Yeah.
I've found that it's been a non-linear journey to say the least for me. And I'm finding, yeah, the more I focus inward and act and express from the inside out, the better that works. Not necessarily in a form of measuring success in a traditional way, because and also like defining success for yourself. You know, what does that mean to me? Rather than,
Mhm.
oh, it means, or it like success means lots of money, big house, big car, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, not necessarily. For some people, it means the opposite, you know. So again, doing your own thing in your own way. Yeah.
Exactly. And it feels so good. Other people might not understand it, but you understand it and it feels good to you. And that's what matters.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
powerful.
Yeah.
And that's magnetic. You like to see it.
Yes. Yeah. Like magnetizing people to you. I think that's the whole point of it all, really. Anyway, yeah, that aside. So,
Mhm.
thank you so much for sharing, eh?
Welcome. Of course. Thanks for having me.
You can find out more details on the website at 50shadesofgender.com/A, where you can also read the transcript. And you can find A on Instagram at This Is A Pariera and on apariera.card.co, card with a double R. Thank you for listening to the 50 Shades of Gender podcast. You can find us online at 50shadesofgender.com, as in FIFTY, on social media and on YouTube. Visit the website to support us, find out about our gender diversity and allyship workshops and courses, and keep up to date on the Anthology of Hope, which will be out in spring 2026. Visit 50shadesofgender.com/hope for more information and updates. We hope you will listen again. Until then, stay curious and open minded.